My wife sent 3 men to attack me. I survived, and took everything back. Hey Reddit. I don't even know where to start, but I guess here's as good a place as any. I woke up in a hospital with 4 cracked ribs, a concussion, 2 missing teeth, and no clue what happened to me. At first, the doctors said I was lucky to be alive. They found me in an alley just 3 blocks from my house, bloodied, unconscious, and dumped behind a dumpster like garbage. No ID, no wallet. They assumed it was a mugging. I assumed the same, until I tried to remember the night. I'd been at a late work dinner. I left a little after 11, texted my wife Hannah that I was on my way home. She didn't respond, but I figured she was asleep. Next thing I know, I'm waking up to white lights, the rhythmic beeping of monitors, and the dull, sick ache of broken bones. Hannah wasn't there. The nurse said she came the day before, but only stayed a few minutes. She brought 3 guys with her, she added casually. Friends, I guess? It was kind of tense. They didn't say much. That sentence haunted me. 3 men. I don't have 3 male friends. But I was jumped by 3 guys. And right then, groggy, stitched up, drugged out of my mind, I knew something was wrong. Because this wasn't a mugging. This was a message. When Hannah finally showed up, I was wide awake and halfway through a painkiller-induced fog of suspicion. She came in holding a smoothie and a fake smile. "Oh my God, babe," she said, rushing to my side. "You scared the hell out of me." She kissed my forehead, a little too rehearsed. I asked, "Who were the 3 guys you brought with you yesterday?" She blinked. "What?" "The nurse said you came with 3 men. Visitors." "Oh yeah, just coworkers. They were worried about you." She said it quickly. Too quickly. I asked, "What coworkers?" She hesitated. Then rattled off names I didn't recognize. "You don't know them, but they're in facilities management. Luis, Corey. I think Jamal?" A bad lie. I've worked with facilities management. It's 3 older women and a dude named Craig who walks with a cane. She looked nervous. I looked at her like I was seeing her for the first time. I'd known something was off for a while. The late nights. The sudden gym obsession. The new lingerie she didn't wear for me. But I never expected this. Not hospital bed, broken bones. Who were those guys? Kind of betrayal. She sat there making small talk like I hadn't just implied she was connected to the men who beat me unconscious. And I didn't press further. Not yet. Because I wanted to see how deep this hole went. And trust me, she was already neck deep in it. That night I barely slept. Not because of the pain meds or the stitches pulling every time I moved, but because my brain wouldn't stop trying to piece it together. Bits of the attack started trickling back. I remembered the sound of footsteps behind me. Then a voice, low, with a mocking tone, saying my name. "Yo, this the guy? Ethan, right?" Then fists. A boot to the ribs. Concrete against my face. They knew my name. That wasn't random. I woke up sweating. The next morning, Hannah showed up again. Different outfit. Same fake concern. She acted like we were still fine. Like she wasn't feeding me lies with every sentence. I asked again about the men. She deflected. Said, "Why are you so hung up on that? You should be focused on healing." I said, "Healing's hard when you know someone let you get hurt." That landed. Her expression cracked. For a moment, I saw the fear behind her practiced face. She said nothing. Just looked at her phone and muttered, "I'll come back tomorrow." She didn't kiss me goodbye this time. After she left, I asked the nurse if she remembered anything else from that visit. She shrugged. Just that one of them called her baby. Thought it was weird. I figured it was a nickname. My blood ran cold. Because if one of those men was calling my wife baby, I wasn't just assaulted. I was targeted by the man she was cheating on me with. When Hannah came by the next day, I played nice. Let her fluff my pillow. Let her peel my orange slices. Let her pretend. Because I had a plan. While she stepped out to take a call, leaving her purse on the chair, I reached over, slipped her phone out, and slid it under my blanket. My hands were shaking. She came back and minutes later, none the wiser. When she finally left, I locked the door, turned on the TV as background noise, and started searching. No passcode. She'd disabled Face ID months ago when she broke her screen. I found it all in seconds. A text thread with Luis Red Heart Fire. Luis. He ask anything yet? Hannah. No, he's still drugged up. He bought the coworker's story LOL. Luis. Bet. We'll wait till it cools off. If he gets nosy, we handle it. Hannah. I got this. He's too soft. My stomach turned. They were planning something. Still. As if the beating wasn't enough. Photos followed. Nudes. Her in our bathroom. Her in a hotel. Voice notes. I wish I could wake up next to you instead. He's so clueless. If he knew what I'd done. Well, I did now. I wasn't clueless anymore. I was a man in a hospital bed, with fractured bones and a phone full of proof. She didn't just cheat. She conspired. And now? It was my turn to plan. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I sent everything from her phone to my cloud drive, texts, photos, voice notes. Backed it up 3 times. One drive I sent to my brother. Told him, "Don't open it unless something happens to me." He said, "What the hell does that mean?" I just said, "Insurance." My wife came running. "Have you seen my phone?" It was lying under the bed, I said. The next day, I told the hospital staff I didn't want visitors. Said I needed space, mentally. They agreed. So when Hannah showed up later, they turned her away. Instead of replying, I turned everything over to a detective who worked with hospital security. I told him I had reason to believe the assault wasn't random, and I had names. He listened. He asked questions. I gave him the messages. And I asked to be discharged early, quietly. I didn't go home. I checked into a motel under a fake name, bruised and broken, watching the pieces move from the shadows. Because from this point forward, I wasn't the victim anymore. I was bait. And if they were planning to handle it again, they'd walk straight into the fire I was building. From my motel room, I watched everything unravel. Hannah had no idea I'd left the hospital early. She kept texting, soft guilt trips, fake sweetness, begging to visit, then blaming me when I didn't respond. "You're acting like I'm the enemy. I've done nothing but care for you. Why are you being so dramatic?" Classic gaslight tactics. Textbook. But she didn't know I was watching. From my motel room, I watched everything unravel. Hannah had no idea I'd checked out of the hospital early under a fake name. As far as she knew, I was still drugged and isolated, too broken to ask questions. She kept texting, starting with fake concern. "Just checking in, hope you're getting better. Let me know if you need anything, Red Heart." Then shifting gears. "Why aren't you answering? I'm starting to worry." Then full-on guilt trip. "I've done nothing but care for you and this is how you treat me?" The performance was flawless. But I had her other messages. The ones to Lise. The ones plotting my silence. Michael, the PI I hired as soon as I checked out, confirmed she was still seeing him. They met every other night. Same bar. Same motel. Same arrogance. I got footage. Them kissing in a car. Her laughing in his lap. And then her walking back into our house like nothing had happened. She even started moving things around, pulling money from our joint account, selling my old guitar, trying to close out my laptop. Like she was getting ready to move on, with him. Probably figuring she'd wait until I was too suspicious, then make her exit before I got too smart. She had no idea I was 10 steps ahead. No idea I was gathering every breadcrumb, every receipt, every recorded moment. She thought I was still in a hospital bed. She didn't know I was the one setting the trap. And soon? She'd walk right into it. Once I had enough dirt to bury a career, I called in a favor. My friend Jordan, an IT specialist with a soft spot for drama, helped me set up a sting. We created a fake email account posing as a concerned neighbor and sent Luis a message. Saw you around the neighborhood a lot lately. Didn't realize you were sleeping with a married woman. You might want to be more careful. Her husband's asking questions. Then we watched. Luis replied within 2 hours. Who is this? You better not be talking. This dude's not gonna be a problem, trust me. He followed it up with a text to Hannah. Someone's sniffing around. You said he was out of the way? She responded. He is. He won't do anything. Relax. I forwarded both messages, along with the hospital records, attack photos, and texts from her phone, to Detective Monroe. He read them, then said, They're not just cheating. They're conspiring. And suddenly it wasn't just betrayal. It was evidence. Criminal conspiracy. Attempted assault. Fraud. All of it. That night, Jordan helped me set up cameras in the house. The locks were still in my name. The cameras synced to my burner. Then I waited. And prayed they were arrogant enough to say something incriminating inside my walls. It only took 2 days. Hannah brought Luis to the house while I was still recovering in the hospital. They didn't even try to be quiet. I watched the footage live from my motel, every second burning into my memory like acid. They drank my whiskey, sat on my couch, laughed about me. Then Luis said something that froze my blood. You sure he's not gonna talk? 'Cause I'm not doing another run if there's heat. Hannah leaned in, wrapped her arms around him. Ethan doesn't have the spine. He folds. Always has. Luis scoffed. He didn't fold when we jumped him. He just bled. And she laughed. My wife laughed. I clipped the footage. Backed it up. Sent it to Detective Monroe with the subject line. Is this enough? 5 minutes later he called me. It's enough. He had what he needed for a warrant. Charges: aggravated assault, conspiracy, fraud. Maybe more. I stared at the screen, watching them kiss in the kitchen I built. And I didn't feel rage. I felt ready. Because the moment was coming. When they'd be blindsided. And I'd be the one walking out with my head high, and their lives in ruin. The morning of the arrest, I sat in my car across the street from my old house, coffee in hand, hoodie up, heart pounding like a drum roll. At exactly 7:42 a.m. 2 unmarked cruisers rolled up slow and quiet. Detective Monroe stepped out. Gave a nod. Then came the knock. Luis answered the door shirtless. I could almost hear the confusion in his voice as Monroe said, Luis Ortega? You're under arrest for assault and conspiracy to commit battery. The flash of handcuffs. Hannah screamed from the hallway, wrapped in a blanket, panic scrawled across her face like war paint. I watched her mouth the words, What the hell is happening? Then Monroe turned to her. Hannah Reed? You'll need to come with us as well. We have questions about your role in the conspiracy and financial documents linked to fraudulent transfers. She didn't fight. She just collapsed onto the porch, stunned, as they read her rights. My phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. They just showed your video on the news feed. Bro, it's going viral. I didn't reply. I just watched as the woman who thought I'd stay down was walked out in cuffs. The street was silent. And for the first time in months, so was my mind. News spreads fast when it's scandalous. The video of Luis and Hannah, the leaked text screenshots, even a clip of her being walked to the cruiser, it all hit the local network within hours. My inbox was flooded with, Are you okay? Messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. I wasn't okay. But I was free. Their arrests made headlines. Wife and lover charged in brutal assault of husband. Investigators found more dirt, credit fraud, bank accounts in my name, even a fake life insurance inquiry she'd filled out months earlier. She was planning for me to disappear. The detective confirmed that if they hadn't been sloppy, She might have tried something worse. She wanted my silence. Forever. And Luis? He had 2 priors. He wasn't walking away from this. They were both denied bail. Too much risk. Too many unanswered questions about motive and money. And me? I went back to the house one last time, alone, with a locksmith. Changed every lock. Packed a box of things that still felt like mine. And I burned the rest. Her perfume. The wine glasses. The throw pillow she loved. The life we pretended to build together. Gone. Reduced to ash, like the last lie she ever told. 2 weeks after her arrest, the letters started coming. Written in pencil. Folded neatly. Smelled faintly like cheap hand soap and desperation. Each envelope was signed in her tight, looping handwriting, Hannah. I didn't open the first one. Or the second. But curiosity is a cruel thing. The third one broke me. I never meant for you to get hurt. I didn't think Luis would go that far. I didn't know how to stop once it started. You were always too good. Too patient. Too stable. I was bored. That's not your fault, it's mine. There it was. Not love. Not remorse. Just admission. Guilt laced with selfishness. I thought I could control it. The money, the secrets, even Luis. But you were the one thing I couldn't manipulate. And I hated that. I hope one day you'll forgive me. But if not, I get it. I really do. I folded the letter back up, slid it into the envelope, and dropped it into the trash. Because there's no apology big enough for orchestrating someone's pain. And some confessions? They come too late. After the trial dates were set, I disappeared. Not out of fear, but out of necessity. I moved across the state. Changed my number. Rented a quiet cabin near a lake with just enough space to breathe, heal, and remember who I was before I became her victim. Therapy helped. So did physical rehab. My ribs still ached on cold mornings, but my mind, that was mending faster. I started journaling. At first it was all rage and questions. But gradually the entries shifted, from, "Why me?" to, "What now?" I bought a used punching bag. Hung it from a beam in the shed. Every hit wasn't just exercise, it was closure. I volunteered at a local youth center. Taught a few self-defense classes. Told my story anonymously, one bruised soul to another. People listened. Because pain is universal. And healing? That's what makes it worth sharing. Every day I was alone felt like a detox. From her voice. From his fists. From the lies. I was no longer trying to recover the life I had. I was learning how to build one that couldn't be taken. One morning, I caught my reflection in the mirror, and didn't look away. That hadn't happened in a long time. For months, all I saw was a victim. A man torn open, humiliated, betrayed. But that morning, I saw someone else. A man who'd walked through hell and crawled back out, scarred but standing. Someone who learned to trust himself again, his instincts, his judgment, his worth. I no longer jumped at every phone buzz. I no longer checked doors twice or imagined her voice behind me in a crowd. The shadows were still there, but they were behind me. That's the thing about surviving betrayal and violence. It doesn't make you fearless. It makes you aware. It sharpens you. That man in the mirror wasn't soft. He wasn't broken. He was ready. Ready to move forward. Ready to start again, not as someone who was almost killed by his wife's lover, but as peace didn't come like a sunrise. It came like a slow tide. One afternoon, I was sitting on the cabin porch, Bowie, the dog I adopted, curled at my feet. Sun cutting through pine trees. My coffee warm. No buzzing phone. No fake apologies. And I realized I hadn't thought about her all day. Not her voice. Not her betrayal. Not the hospital. Not the sting of Luis's boot. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you don't get when you're constantly bracing for a lie. I didn't know if Hannah was still in jail, or if Louise had flipped on her for a deal. I didn't care. Their story was over. They were just chapters now. And I had new ones to write, ones that didn't start in hospitals or end in courtrooms. Just days spent healing. Nights filled with peace. Maybe even hope. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. I met someone. Not the way movies script it. No fireworks. No meet cute in a bookstore aisle. She was just there, kind. Patient. Asked questions without trying to pry. Laughed without performance. Her name's Leah. We've had coffee. Walked the dog. Talked about scars, literal and emotional. She didn't flinch when I told her what happened. She just nodded and said, "You didn't let it define you. That matters. I don't know where it's going. And that's okay. Because I'm not looking for a rescue. I'm just letting life in again, one honest moment at a time. The past? It taught me how low people can sink. But it also taught me how high I can rise. And now? I leave the door open, not for her to come back, but for something better to walk in. And I'll be ready when it does. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.